Thank you, band. Thank you, Lockie, for bringing us that part of the message. So, now that there's this moment that's happened, the angels have come down, the shepherds are there going, what just happened? Let's have a look and see what their response is to what this situation was. We read in verse 16, "So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what they had been told about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which they had just been told." Their response. Well, I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean us. I don't think we need to do anything with this information. We'll just go back to the sheep and pretend nothing happened. They had to do something with this news. They have now been changed because of this news. They left their sheep, their jobs. Right? They left it because something was more important. Sheep, their livelihood. They need to protect them so that they can earn money for their families. But they left because they knew this was more important. They needed to find what the angels were talking about. So they left in a hurry and went in search for the King of Kings. And they found him. He wasn't hiding. He was exactly where the angels had told them to look. Jesus promised this when he says in Matthew 7:7, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, anyone who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be open." They went looking and found Jesus. Admittedly, not everyone will have a sky opening, the choir of angels coming down and singing, but they went looking and they found him. If we look for God, we will find God. If we look for sin, we will find sin. What are we looking for? What is it that is the desire of our heart? It's easy to find revenge when we're angry. It's easy to find lust when we're selfish. Anger when we're disappointed. It's easy to find disloyalty when we find bitterness and when trust is broken. It's easy to find busyness and chaos when we're at work. But if we look to Jesus, we will find love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, faithfulness, kindness, gentleness, self-control. We will find him. When people look for Jesus, they find him. He isn't hiding. He's actually not that hard to find because he's everywhere, because he created it all. He created everything, including us, to be in relationship with him. As it says in John, all things were made through him, and without him nothing was made. So if you just look to him, he will be there. And that is such an encouragement. And that is an amazing amount of love. And I think that is our role to play for people, pointing them to Jesus, just like the angels did. We need to give that direction for people, point them toward him. People who are struggling or don't have direction, point them to the one who has direction for their life. People who are hurting and people who are hurting, we can point them to the one who restores. And people who are lost and broken, the one who gives hope. We can point them to Jesus. And so what did the shepherds do once they found him? When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what they had been told about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds had said to them. They spread the word of their encounter. What they saw, they heard and experienced. They were excited to go and tell the people about what just happened. My kids love telling me stories about the day that just happened. They love giving me all the details about, and look, some of it not relevant or that interesting, but they love telling me all of it, and they're super captivated by it. They want to tell me everything, like who won the winning goal in soccer and who won what in the World Cup. And I get this a lot. My friend told me about this other friend who actually doesn't like this other friend, but when they told them, and they said that their friend are friends with them and their older brother, and they decided that they want to date them, but then they broke up. Like, you just hear about all stuff about the day. And then when Annie went to the zoo, it's like there's information about meerkats you just don't need to know about, but she is so excited and enthusiastic about them that she just wants to share everything. And you can't help not but be excited for them. You can't help not but to hear that information because it has meant something to them. It was important for them. And that's because that's what they experienced. What I love about this passage is that the story that they're sharing is not about them. It's not about the shepherds. They're not talking about themselves or making them look good. It's more important. It's just about what they've experienced about God. They believe what they have heard and saw and are now excited for their king to be born. What they've been waiting for centuries. And for what it's worth, it seems like that what they had to say was believable because all that heard were amazed. The shepherds, the dirty, low status, non-educated, my best mate Sean the sheep, they're amazed. And people are amazed by what they had said. God uses everyone because he made everyone equal, because it's about the story and it's more important than the status of the person. It's good news for all. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had seen, which were just as they had been told. They were changed by their interaction with Jesus, and it didn't stop after they had told the people. It continued in their life past that. It was continually in their life it had changed them, and they were excited. When we look at Mary's response, in verse 19 it says, "But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart." Mary's response was more about holding on to these moments close to her heart and thinking about them. I'm sure this would have played on her mind all the way through her life, not just this moment. All these precious moments that remind her of Jesus and the promise made to her by the angel Gabriel. They are important to her, and she wants to think about them and ask questions to God about them, and probably asking, why me, more than once. It would have confused her, would have scared her, would have excited her, trying to equate what this means for the future. And she pondered them in her heart. Pondered here is like the doing word. It's an active word. I can imagine this would be going around and around in her head constantly and in her heart. The idea of pondering, I looked up in the dictionary definition, it's about think about something carefully, especially before making a decision or reacting or reaching a conclusion. All her decisions would be made according to these events that she'd been witnessed and been part of. And I wonder how carefully our decisions are being made while we ponder these things in our heart. When we let God into our thinking and decisions, and we let him make give us direction. My family would tell me I'm fairly impulsive when it comes to buying games or food or just everything in general. I don't tend to weigh things up in my head. I don't have a clear analytical scale about what's going on. I just know the outcome. I want the game and I'll buy the game. And when I was trying to work out the direction for my life about what work to get, I was having a conversation with my now boss, Shane, who was a chaplain at the time at Power to Change, and he told me all the details about what I would need to do to be part of Power to Change and all the stuff, and all I heard was, a chaplain, I'm in. That's all I heard. And I just like, he very much tells me, and regularly, my exact words were to him, stuff it, I'm in. That's what I said to him, because all I wanted to do was be a chaplain. What is God asking you to think about? What does he want you to consider? What decisions do you need to give him? What might those decisions change if you just consider God in them? What could change our reactions to people or plans that we don't know about? It's hard to be angry with someone when we're praying for them. Everything that is from God will come true. Everything will be made right because of Jesus. And the birth itself is a testament to that. So just lastly, I want to look at, just very quickly, our response. The shepherds, Mary, what's our response to this good news of the King being born? What's changed for us? Maybe at times thinking, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean me. Is it for us to share? Are we excited about this good news? Is it still the same that it was, or has it maybe worn off? What's our response going to be, especially over this Christmas time, and we get to talk to people about the carols that we're a part of, or being able to come to church, or be at church on Christmas Day, or where we are with our friends or our family over Christmas? Are we looking for opportunities that God can give us during the day just to share something that gives glory to God? Our response might be that we need to give some decisions over to God about our life, about a colleague at work that might be irritating us, about a neighbour that wants to build another level up higher, which is our next door neighbour. It's like, what's our response to these things as we hear about the message of Jesus? Maybe it's to point our friends or our colleagues to God because we know the way to him. Maybe it's like the shepherds who went to tell everyone what they just witnessed. Whatever our response is, I pray that we can be like the shepherds. As it says in verse 20, the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just being told. I pray that God blesses us as we go into the holiday period, and that we can rely on him and have our world changed because Jesus has been born.